Welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm David, this is my friend Reed.
Hello. Today we're going to talk about an effective and fun EDH deck, also known as a commander deck. Today's deck is going to be a fast aggro deck, so we're going to do our damage pretty quickly, preferably with the commander. With our decks there's just one additional build rule, and that is that all our decks have cards under $1 in price, with one exception, and that is our commander. Our commander can be over $1 to have some cool commanders. So let's look at our commander today. Yeah,
we have an awesome commander. We have Rafiq of the Many for a colorless, a green, a white, and a blue. We have a 3/3 Exalted Legendary Human Knight. That's a lot of words. And the great thing about Rafiq is not only does he have Exalted, which means that any creature that attacks alone gets a +1/+1. On top of that, if a creature attacks alone, that creature gets double strike. So that means that if you just have Rafiq on the table, the 3/3 while he's attacking triggers his own Exalted, becomes 4/4, which means it's 4/4 double strike. So that's 8 commander damage if it gets unblocked, and that's if he's by himself on the table. So that means that pretty much the role for this commander is going to be to do 21 commander damage.
That's it.
Yeah. But you know, you can't really just have a deck with just the commander and lands. So let's have a look at what other cards we're going to be using to let this deck come to its full fruition.
Well, we have 17 Exalted cards, or similar cards. That means that our commander is going to be even bigger. We only chose the low cost Exalted cards, you will see them later. We have 18 defensive cards. We have 14 pump spells or other cards, maybe enchantments, artifacts. We have 11 utility cards, which are our speed mana cards, mana fixing, and some protection spells. We have, of course, 39 land cards in the deck, because you can't have a deck without lands.
Exactly.
So let's look at our turn order.
Yeah, the best turn progression. What are we going to be looking at turn 1?
Well, turn 1 we will ideally be casting some Exalted, and turn 2 also Exalted. Then turn 3 we will be casting some mana fixing, and then turn 4 some defensive spell, maybe some more mana fixing, and preferably turn 5 we will be casting our commander. And that is turn 5 because in most cases anyone will need to get rid of Rafiq, and of course we don't want that.
No.
And there's some protection in this deck, in the form of for 1 white mana protection from all colors or a color of your choice, spells like that. And when we cast commander at turn 5 we might just have that protection spell. At least we can pretend we have one.
Yeah.
So that's why mostly we'll be casting him turn 5, maybe turn 4 with some mana fixing. Well, and then afterwards, after turn 5 or 6, we'll have some pump spells to make Rafiq even bigger and make sure he gets through by giving him trample or maybe unblockable.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good, if all goes according to plan.
Of course.
Let's have a look at the Exalted cards. We've divided the Exalted cards into Exalted cards and similar cards that are kind of like Exalted, but not really. For the first one we have a Crescent Squire for 1 white mana. We got a little 1/1 dude who has Exalted.
Pretty simple. He gives the commander, when it's attacking, or maybe another card when it's attacking alone, 1 additional power and 1 additional toughness.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and actually by himself, on turn 2, he can be attacking as a 2/2 for 1 mana.
Yeah, and that is when there's no other creature on the battlefield turn 2.
Yeah, not too
That's
bad.
pretty good.
Then we have Sight-Cased Sorcerer for a colorless and a white. We have a 1/1 Exalted, similar to the Crescent Squire, except this guy also has pay a blue mana. Sight-Cased Sorcerer gains Shroud till the end of the turn.
Yeah, could come in very handy when they want to remove Sight-Cast Sorcerer. Of course, it's not the biggest threat, so they might not want to remove it. But it could be, so he can protect himself, he can protect Rafiq. But if there are a lot of removal spells and you really can't protect Rafiq, this guy is easier to protect, and maybe you can just pump this guy, and this guy could deal the damage. It's a lot harder than with Rafiq, but it is possible.
Exactly. And of course, if Rafiq's on the table, then this little guy will get the double strike. So, nothing to sniff at. Aven Squire for a colorless and a white. We have a 1/1 Flying Exalted.
Yeah, some evasion and Exalted.
Yeah, it does pretty good work. Knight of Glory is next for a colorless and a white. We get a 2/1. So this guy already has a little bit more power. He has protection from black and exalted.
Yeah, so this means he can't be targeted by black spells or abilities. He can't have damage from black spells or creatures.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, it also can't be blocked by black creatures. So all in all, and on top of that, of course, he can block pretty big black creatures as long as they're not flying or have some kind of evasion. So this guy actually does pretty good work for 2 mana.
Yeah.
Sigiled Paladin for 2 white, so a little bit harder to cast. You get a 2/2 knight though, and this guy has exalted and also first strike.
Yeah, also nice to have first strike, so it can deal damage early on and it won't be killed, even not by dead touch creatures.
Yeah.
2 white might not be that hard because there is more white in this deck.
True.
So
Doable.
pretty doable.
Doable to cast, and on top of that, for 2 mana, you get another exalted guy, which is really what we're going for.
Yeah.
Aethercase Knight for a white and a blue mana. We get a 1/3 exalted knight.
Yeah.
A lot of knights.
Yeah, it's a lot of knights. Don't have anything to say about this one, just exalted.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
And he's got a big butt. 3
It's a
toughness. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good. Not unlike Guardians of Akrasa for 2 colorless and a white. We get a 0/4. That's a pretty big butt. Also with exalted. This guy has defender.
Yeah, can attack,
Unfortunately.
but we don't want him to attack. We attack with only 1 creature, so no problem here.
Not use him to block. Not unlike Court Archers for 2 colorless and a green, we get a 1/3 exalted. This guy has reach, so that'll help us stopping some of the very small early flyers.
Yeah, most cards do not have reach or flying, so this one does. Pretty important.
Yeah. Frontline Sage is also for 2 colorless and a blue this time, a 0/1, very tiny little guy with exalted. But this guy has an ability which states that if you pay a blue mana, you tap him, you get to draw a card and discard a card. It's a little bit of a loot effect on a little dork.
It is a little dork. Well, it could come in handy, especially when, for example, you can cast this one turn 3 and turn 4 you do not have a land. You can just throw something else away. Maybe you draw the additional land. Could come in very handy.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we get to the Dawnray Archer for 2 colorless and a blue. We get a 1/1, very small little guy with exalted. This guy also has a cool ability. When you pay a white and tap him, you can do 1 point of damage to target attacking or blocking creature.
Yeah, could ping away an attacking or blocking creature if it has 1 toughness.
Yeah. Guildspire Avenger is extremely powerful for a green, a white, and a blue. You get a 2/2 exalted creature, but he has an awesome ability which is tap, destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn.
Yeah. This one is very annoying. The opponents will want to get rid of this one because, well, it's low cost, it's a 2/2, it has exalted, so it does all the stuff this deck needs to do,
Yeah.
and it could kill very big creatures, well, when they do not have indestructible or hexproof, of course, but still, this is very powerful.
Yeah, what this deck wants to do is attack with you know, Rafiq by himself, doing a lot of damage, and make sure that people don't want to attack you back. And a card like Guildspire Avenger says, okay, you can attack me if you want, and it doesn't stop people from attacking, but if you do, I will kill the biggest thing that came my way. So that's a good little political tool right there.
It is. It will change the battlefield, so later in the game, that opponent will have less creatures available, which nobody wants in a multiplayer commander format.
No, so they'll avoid attacking you. It's a great card. Ardent Plea for a colorless, a white, and a blue is an enchantment with Exalted, so it's hard to remove. And it has Cascade, so what could happen is you cast Ardent Plea, Cascade states that you then go to your library, you start removing cards until you come across a non-land card that costs equal to or less than Ardent Plea, so less than 3 mana, and you get to put that one into the battlefield. So what you can do is you can cascade right into a Guildspire Avenger.
Oh, you cannot, because it's you can remove a non-land card until you have one that costs less.
Oh,
so
less.
It's not equal, only less.
That's too bad. That's too bad. So we can't cascade into a Guildspire Avenger, but we could cascade into any of the other 2 mana exalted creatures.
Exactly.
Still pretty good though.
Still good.
Yeah. Then we move on to Angelic Benediction for 3 colorless and a white. We get also an enchantment with Exalted, which is very nice. And this one is actually really handy because it states that as long as a creature is attacking by itself, it has to be your creature, you get to tap target creature.
Yeah, could come in very handy when the opponent has a very annoying blocker, maybe only one. could happen, turn 4 or 5. And you can just tap that creature when Rafiq is attacking, so Rafiq will get through.
Yeah.
So you do not have trample or unblockable or something else yet.
Still very nice. Tapping the most relevant blocker on your opponent's side is very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, especially in an aggro deck.
Absolutely. Those are the exalted cards. Now we got some similar cards. The first one is Infantry Veteran for 1 white. It gives a little one guy, and this guy can tap to give target attacking creature +1/+1 to the end of turn.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's a little less good than exalted because it has to tap, of course.
Doesn't have haste. Yeah.
No, it doesn't have haste. No, true.
So you gotta wait a turn.
Yeah.
Not bad though. Ghost Warden for a colorless and a white also gives us 1/1 guy, which allows us to tap, and then target creature gets +1/+1 to the end of turn. It's actually the same as the Infantry Veteran.
Yeah, 1 mana more. It could give a blocking creature +1/+1. But mostly you won't want that. But still, it could happen.
Yeah, just at any given point in time. Doesn't have to be attacking or blocking or anything.
Yeah. And even this one could block and then give itself +1/+1. That could happen.
Yeah, that could actually do something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he can't do it on himself when he's attacking because he needs to tap to attack.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doesn't work. But for blocking, that could definitely work. Angelic Page for a colorless and a white gives us a 1/1 flyer, which is pretty nice. And this one can tap to give +1/+1 to a target attacking or blocking creature.
Yeah, a little bit better than the Ghost Warden because it's flying.
Yeah, nice.
Good enough.
Little angelic spirit. Knight of New Alara is a really good card. For 2 colorless, a green and a white, we get a 2/2 guy. This guy states that each other multicolored creature gets +1/+1 for each of its colors. Now, Rafiq is 3. That's very nice.
Yeah, we have some other creatures that have multicolored, well, mostly 2 colors, and the Guildspire Avenger, of course, 3.
Yeah.
Those creatures will also get +2/+2 or +3/+3. Not only when they're attacking, but also when they're blocking or when they might get removed by some burn. So this really helps a lot.
Just constantly they get +1/+1, which means that Rafiq is already 6/6 with this guy on the table, and 7/7 when attacking. Yeah, so that's huge. That's 7/7 double strike, 14 points of commander damage just with those 2 cards. So that's huge. Well, those are the exalted and exalted light cards. It helps us be very aggressive for the aggro deck, but we also need to have some cards to protect us a little bit, so let's have a look at the defense cards. We divided the defense cards into blockers, limiters, and removal cards. Let's start with the blockers. First one is an awesome blocker, Fog Bank. For a colorless and a blue, we get a 0/2 flyer, which also has defender. But the great thing about Fog Bank is that you can prevent all combat damage dealt to and by Fog Bank. So it's hard to remove.
Yeah, it's very hard to remove. It is only combat damage, of course, but still you can block very big creatures with this one. Well, of course, when there's a creature with trample, they only have to assign 2 damage to this guy, so the rest of the damage will get through. But well, you can just block any creature with a lot of power which doesn't have trample. So this is a very good blocking defensive creature. Yeah,
and he's got flying, so yeah, creatures with flying can't fly over this little Fog Bank. It's great. Does a lot of work. Comes in real early as well.
Yeah.
Next one is Guard Gomazoa. For 2 colorless and a blue, we get a 1/3 defender with flying. And this guy states prevent all combat damage dealt to Guard Gomazoa, so not by. Which means that this guy can kill 1/1 creatures.
Yeah. You pronounce his name pretty good. I won't try that. Well, this one, of course, it's a little bit the same as the Fog Bank, but of course, like David said, it does deal 1 point of damage. We won't really pump this, so it's not going to become bigger, but still, it could be annoying. You have the option. Somebody says, "Oh, I've got my 3/3 flyer, which I will just send in to you, and maybe you can block him because I'm attacking with multiple creatures." And you could boost Guard Gomazoa and kill their flyer. Yeah. It's possible. And the great thing is that this guy doesn't die in combat. True. Yeah. Seraph of the Sword is another great blocker. For 3 colorless and a white, we have a 3/3 flying angel, which says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Seraph of the Sword. It's actually the same as the Guard Gomazoa, a little bit more expensive, but on the plus side doesn't have defender, so you could attack with it. No, doesn't have defender, 3 points of power. I think this is pretty big, bigger than of course the Guard Gomazoa. and the fog bank. Now I did
Good
pronounce
job,
it.
good job.
Thank you. So I think this is a very nice card.
Yeah, right? Absolutely, does good work. Voice of All is also a very good blocker for 2 colorless and 2 white, so a little bit harder to cast. We get a flying 2/2 Angel, which is really small, you know, 2/2, especially since we just saw the Seraph of the Sword. But the great thing is, of the Voice of All, is when she comes in, you can choose a color, and she has protection from that color.
Yeah, so this is a little bit better than only prevent all combat damage, of course, because it does prevent all damage from that color. The only problem is that's only one color, of course, but still, it could be pretty good.
Yeah, just have a look at what the most prevalent color is, or what creatures are the biggest threat. You choose that color. Maybe there's a lot of removal in that color flying around. You might say, okay, you know, give myself protection from white, and then an Oblivion Ring, for example, won't be able to do anything.
No.
And
yeah, it can be blocked by that color, and of course that could come in very handy with a flying creature.
Yeah, absolutely. The last one of our blockers is the Guardian of the Gateless for 4 colorless and a white. We get a 3/3 flying angel. Great thing about this angel is that for each, well, it can block any number of creatures. That's great. So if somebody comes with a huge token army, you know, tries to send 20 guys at you, a guard of the Gateless would be able to survive, well, would be able to block at least all those creatures. Probably not survive. But she does get +1/+1 for each creature blocking.
Yeah, so when you block a lot of creatures, she will also kill a lot of those creatures.
Yeah.
So that's very relevant.
Yeah, so it's not for each creature blocking, it's for each creature she is blocking. Yeah, so that she can get really big. If she blocks one creature, she's already 4/4.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Well, those are the blockers. Let's have a look at the limiters, because we want cards that limit the aggressiveness that we get towards us. And a great card for that is Silent Arbiter. For 4 colorless, we get a 1/5, nice little guy with a big butt, which states that no more than 1 creature can attack each turn, and no more than 1 creature can block each turn. Now, for an Exalted type aggro deck, that is huge.
It is. We will only attack with 1 creature, which we will pump and make unblockable, trample, etc. etc. While the others mostly will want to attack with more than 1 creature, and they can't, so that's very annoying.
Yeah.
This is not only against you, but also against the other opponents, so could give you an edge.
Yeah, it makes it tough, and if people can only attack you with 1 creature, and they might have a big 5/5 flying demon, but it doesn't have trample, and you happen to have one of the blockers we just talked about, you can just, it ruins their day.
It does.
And that's great. Next card is Crawl Space for 3 mana. It's just an artifact that you pop on the table and states no more than 2 creatures can attack each combat.
Yeah. This says nothing about blocking, so you can block with more creatures, the others can too. When you have this together with the Silent Arbiter, it won't do much, pretty useless, but it's harder to remove than the Silent Arbiter because that's a creature, and of course it's only 3 mana. So still good enough. I think Silent Arbiter is better, but still good enough.
Yeah, very relevant. Lightfield Mine is a great enchantment for 2 colorless and 2 white. It states that whenever 1 or more creatures attack, Lightfield Mine deals damage to each of those creatures equal to the number of attacking creatures. Which basically states if a 1/1 attacks by himself, he dies before he can even do anything. If you attack with 2 2/2s, they kill each other as well, etc.
Exactly, it's a very nice card because we will only attack with 1 card, which has Exalted, so, well, almost always will have Exalted, so it's also always a 2/2. The opponents will have a lot more problems with this Light Mine field.
Yeah, you have no business attacking with a creature that doesn't have Exalted in this deck.
No.
No business. No. You shouldn't be doing it. You're doing something wrong. But Lightfield Mine basically makes sure that if people start to attack with a lot of creatures, they will pretty much die before they can do anything. Those are the limiters. Sometimes it's not enough to just insinuate that you should probably not be attacking us playing the Exalted deck. We need something a little bit more aggressive to remove threats on the table. They're all a little bit in the ideology of don't attack us, and the first one of that is Soul Snare. It's an enchantment that comes up for 1 white and states pay a white, sacrifice Soul Snare, exile target creature that's attacking you or a planeswalker you control.
Very relevant if people see this is on the battlefield, and of course you have 1 white open, they will not be attacking you.
Yeah.
Also it states exile, so that's pretty nice because it's a lot better than destroy, of course.
Yeah.
Destroy effects could be regenerated or maybe they have indestructible. So exile is a lot better. It won't even go to the graveyard, so they can't reanimate stuff. So this is a very good card for this
All
deck.
good stuff. It comes in on as early as turn 1, so it starts doing work. And the great thing about it is, if you would just have a normal removal card, you could use it, of course, when people attack you. But with this card on the table, people will still be attacking each other with their big threats, thinking, we're not going to attack the Rafiq deck because Soul Snare's on the table, and they're still doing each other damage. That's great. Reciprocate is fairly similar. It's an instant for 1 white mana, which states exile target creature that dealt damage to you this turn.
Yeah. It is after the creature dealt damage.
Yeah.
Which could be annoying if it's a big creature. Well, of course, cards that will do it beforehand are more expensive. Well, of course, in mana cost, and maybe if it's not, then it will be in dollars.
Yeah.
So this is pretty good for this deck.
Exactly.
Below $1.
And you can bluff your way through it by saying you just leave a white mana up and you say, I got reciprocate, so if you do damage to me, I will reciprocate. And then people will, they'll probably still attack you, but then you can show them the folly of their ways. The next card is a Spear of Heliod. For a colorless and 2 white, we get a nice little boost because it gives creatures you control +1/+1. So that means that your Rafiq, when he's attacking, he also gets a +1/+1. Just in general, but when he's doing his damage, it's going to be a little bit bigger, which is nice. And on top of that, you can pay a colorless and 2 white, tap Spear of Heliod, and then destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn.
Yeah, already the +1/+1 would be enough, I think, but destroy a creature is just very powerful.
Yeah.
So very nice card.
It's like a little Guild Spire Avenger on a artifact.
Yeah, of course. Well, it is of course after it dealt damage again, but still.
And you have to pay the mana, so it's not quite that, but it's another card that tells people you shouldn't be attacking me. Next card, very useful, Journey to Nowhere for a colorless and a white. We just get an enchantment that says when Journey to Nowhere enters the battlefield, exile target creature. When Journey to Nowhere leaves the battlefield, return that creature to its owner's control.
Pretty good removal. Well, hard to remove because it's an enchantment, so very nice card.
Yeah, exactly. Oblivion Ring is next for 2 colorless and a white, which states almost exactly the same thing, except that this is any target non-land permanent.
Yeah, so it could also remove artifacts or enchantments.
Yeah.
Could come in very handy. Maybe even planeswalkers. In our format we won't really have planeswalkers because they're above $1.
Usually,
but still. Yeah.
Exactly. But Oblivion Ring does great work, removing pretty much any threat. Guafa Hazid Profiteer is next for a colorless, a white, and a blue. It's a 2/2 legendary creature, which states that you can pay a white, a blue, and tap a Guafa Hazid, and then put a bribery counter on a target creature. That creature's controller can draw a card, and now that creature has, can't attack or block.
Yeah, this is very relevant, especially when they have a big creature, maybe commanders can't attack or block. This is very annoying. Of course, that controller can draw a card, but still, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Only with very big creatures you do this. So very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a hassle because the creature wasn't removed. It's still there on the table, but it just can't attack or block anymore. And some creatures, all you want to do with is attack or block. So
can be reanimated, can be regenerated. So very annoying.
Yeah. Another great card is Intrepid Hero for 2 colorless and a white. We get a little 1/1 dork, which states tap Intrepid Hero, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater.
Yeah, so it has some drawbacks. You can't destroy creatures with 1, 2, or 3 power, but well, especially in Commander, a lot of creatures with 4 or more power will come onto the table. So this is very annoying if you can just kill those creatures.
Yeah, all the big fatties are gone. Well, 1 per turn, but still, pretty nice, right?
Yeah, pretty annoying.
Harsh Mercy is a very harsh sorcery for 2 colorless and a white, and states each player chooses a creature type, then destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type, and they cannot be regenerated. So it's a pretty awesome wrath effect.
Yeah, maybe you already saw that we have a lot of knights, so mostly you will choose knights, and maybe you will only have like 3 knights, and they will just all survive, and well, maybe the opponent has a token deck and a lot of elves or humans or something else like that. But still, it's very good for your deck to have this card.
Yeah.
Only 3 mana.
Yeah, you can play it relatively early because, of course, it's so cheap. And on top of that, when people have 3 different creatures, let's say, and they have to pick one, most likely they're going to let survive. Yeah, Rafiq is a creature that we're always going to be picking, and Rafiq can attack by himself. He doesn't really need the entire board presence that we have access to sometimes. Rafiq, I think, is more powerful than a lot of the other commanders by himself. So this is having just only one creature on the battlefield is more of an advantage for us.
Yeah, and in some cases it did happen that we cast this, of course, later in the game. Mostly we will cast it later, when some opponents will only have 1 or 2 blocking creatures available, and they will just have to destroy one of their blockers, and which will be very annoying, or they will have to destroy something that's more powerful, which is tapped. So this is very annoying late game to have Rafiq get through more easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Divine Reckoning is next for 2 colorless and 2 white. It's also a sorcery, which states each player chooses a creature he or she controls, destroy the rest.
Yeah, this is very annoying, of course, against token decks, and you, like my colleague just said, need only Rafiq on the battlefield, while the others might need some more creatures.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, and on top of that it has flashback for 7 mana. So people also know, he's going to do it later on again, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you have some more opponents than just 1 or 2 in Commander. You can just have it come back late game when you have 7 mana.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great card. Just make sure that Rafiq stays on the table. Those are the defense cards. And that's all great for keeping us protected. And of course we have the exalted cards for attacking, but sometimes you want something that gives your commander even more power when attacking. So let's have a look at the pump spells. We've divided the pump spells into single-use spells and permanent spells. Let's have a look at the single-use ones first. They're mostly instants and sorceries. The first one is Might of the Nephilim for a colorless and a green. It's an instant that states target creature gets +2/+2 for each of its colors. So if you cast it on Rafiq, it's +6.
Yeah, and it's instant speed, so +6 for 2 mana is a lot.
Yeah.
Well, of course he has double strike, so it's actually +12 damage for Rafiq. While most cases, if they didn't block it, they'll just die, and even, well, maybe if Rafiq has trample or something, it's still very much so they will die from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, most
Commander
cases.
damage. Yeah.
Commander damage, yeah, of course.
Very nice. Next card, it's also super cheap, 2 mana.
Yeah.
Next card is a sorcery, Hunter's Prowess for 4 colorless and a green. Until the end of turn, target creature gets +3/+3, gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage, you draw that many cards.
Yeah, in a lot of cases Rafiq is pretty big when it has some additional exalted triggers from the other creatures. We don't really need a lot of card draw in this deck, in most cases of course, but still some additional card draw is very relevant, and trample is very relevant, so this is very good.
Yeah, it's too bad that it isn't instant speed, so you can't trick people with it.
True.
On top of that, +3 and the trample and getting the cards, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, but if this would be instant speed, it would be too powerful.
We wouldn't even want it in the deck. It'd be too good.
Exactly.
Next card is Invigorate for 2 colorless and a green. This is an instant that states target creature gets +4/+4 till the end of turn. That's a really nice boost. But if you have a forest under your control, you can instead choose to have an opponent gain 3 life, and then you can cast this for free.
Yeah, well, in this case, especially in Commander, losing 3 life is not that much of a problem, and it's instant speed, so
it's gaining 3 life.
Yeah, the opponent gains 3 life, of course, but that's not a problem because you have the commander damage, which won't help to gain 3 life.
No.
It's instant speed. Maybe you have all your lands tapped, so the opponent thinks, ha, he can't boost Rafiq anymore, and then you just put this on, which is 8 additional commander damage. So this is really big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It does great work in the trick department. Stonewood Invocation is another instant for 3 colorless and a green. It has target creature gets +5/+5 to the end of turn and can't be the target of spells or abilities.
Yeah, which is very relevant. In some cases, the opponent will try to remove your spell. Well, your creature, of course. They can't remove your creature. It also has split second, so they can't react with an instant to remove your creature before this ability or this instant resolves, so it will resolve. So this is really annoying when they try to remove your creature during your attacking phase, they just can't anymore when you cast this one.
Yeah, it's too bad it doesn't also give trample, but if people decide not to block and to remove Rafiq, for example, then you give him +5/+5, that's another 10 because of the double strike commander damage.
I would try that if I was playing against Rafiq. I think I wouldn't be thinking about this card, of course, because most cases people won't have it, so removing him instant speed after the blocking phase might be best to do, to see what the opponent, what his cards will be, and well, when this comes on, you'll be very surprised.
Yeah, very good. Revenge of the Hunted is next for 4 colorless and 2 green, so it's pretty expensive for a sorcery, 6 mana. It states that till the end of turn, target creature gets +6/+6 and trample, and all creatures able to block it must do so on this turn.
Yeah, it is of course a lot of mana. It is also removal because all creatures have to block it. It also has trample, so this makes Rafiq by himself a 10/10 double strike trample, so 20 trample damage.
Yeah, on the attack.
On the attack, of course. Apart from that, it also has Miracle, and that means whenever you draw it, when it's the first card you draw each turn, so normally the card you draw after your upkeep, you can just sail it to the opponent, and you can just pay 1 green instead of 6 mana. So when you are this lucky, this happens, you will be casting this spell for 1 mana, and you can just do some other neat stuff that turn, and Rafiq will be, like turn 5 maybe, will be a 10/10 trample, double strike, has to be blocked by all creatures the opponent controls, defending opponent controls.
Yeah, and that's going to be brutal, because not only you're going to be doing a lot of damage, also they're probably going to lose a couple of critical creatures.
Yeah, you just destroy their whole world.
Yeah, awesome. Might of Oaks is next for 3 colorless and a green. This is an instant, and it actually gives target creature +7/+7 till the end of turn.
Yeah, this is a lot. It makes Rafiq 11/11 on the attack. Doesn't give trample, but still, surprise, surprise, instant.
Exactly. If somebody says, I'm not going to block Rafiq this turn, you cast Might of Oaks, they're dead because of the lethal commander damage.
True.
Awesome. Then we get to another card, Enlarge, also sorcery for 3 colorless and 2 green. It states target creature gets +7/+7, so just as massive as Might of Oaks, and gains trample, so that's nice that it adds that on top of that, since it's not an instant speed spell. It's good that we get the trample on top of that, and it must be blocked this turn if able, so it's also kind of a removal.
Yeah, chances are, because of the trample, this will be lethal damage, and another time removal, mass removal actually, in a lot of cases, so very nice.
Yeah, well, it says it must be blocked this turn if able, but it doesn't state that it needs to be blocked by everybody, so it's not as bad as the Revenge of the Hunted.
Yeah.
But still, they have to block with something, and you could get them in a situation where the only thing that they can block with is a critical creature that they really need, and then that creature is gone, because Rafiq getting +7/+7, so it's that's 10, that's 11, double strike, trample, yeah, nothing can really survive that.
No.
Then we get to the last of the single-use spells for pumping Rafiq, most likely. And that's the Skarg Goliath for 6 colorless and 2 green. It's actually a 9/9 trample creature, but we don't really use him like a 9/9 trample creature. We use him for the Blood Rush. Blood Rush cost is 5 colorless and 2 green. Discard this card. Target attacking creature gets +9/+9 in trample.
Yeah, so you can only cast it at an attacking creature, so during the combat phase, at instant speed of course, and that creature will be, Rafiq, +9/+9 and trample will make him 13/13 double strike trample. That's too much.
That's too much, yeah, especially because it's instant speed, so people, they can't really react to it later on anymore.
Yeah, so very nice.
Yeah, well, those are all really nice if you want to finish the game really quickly, kill one opponent out of the way. Sometimes that's not going to be enough because you want something a little bit more permanent, so we also have some permanent pump spells. The first one of those is an enchantment, Armadillo Cloak, for a colorless, a green, and a white. You can enchant Rafiq most likely with this, and then Rafiq will have +2/+2, trample, and pseudo lifelink.
Yeah, you gain that much life when he deals combat damage. So with only Rafiq and this spell on him, he's on the attack, of course. Again, he's 6/6 trample, lifelink, double strike. So it's 12 trample, lifelink damage.
Yeah.
Not unlike the Unflinching Courage, it's actually the same card as the Armadillo Cloak, but it has lifelink instead of you gain that much life. So this is not redundant with the Armadillo Cloak.
No.
It's double up.
Yeah.
So
just throw that one on top. The only thing that's redundant is the trample.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, true. Very nice card. Behemoth Sledge for a colorless, a green and a white is an artifact that gives equipped creature +2/+2, lifelink and trample. It costs 3 to equip.
Yeah. So the equip cost makes it a little harder to put on your creature. It's 6 to put on in 2 turns, of course, mostly. But it will stay on the table when Rafiq or equipped creature, of course, gets removed.
Yeah. So when you can pop them down on turn 3, let's say turn 4, you would put down Rafiq, let's say. Usually we want to do turn 5 so we can protect them, but let's say turn 4. And then on the turn that Rafiq's going to attack, you're definitely going to have the 3 mana to equip him.
True.
Yeah. The next card is Inquisitor's Flail for 2 colorless mana. It's an artifact, and you can equip this artifact for 2 mana. And it states, if equipped creature would deal combat damage, it deals double that damage instead. And if another creature would deal combat damage to equipped creature, it deals double that damage instead. So it's not double strike, it just doubles up the damage that you did.
Yeah, so it's double strike.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's not that hard to equip too. It's only 4 when you cast him 2 and when you equip him 2. And well, people won't really like blocking Rafiq because he will do double first strike damage and then double normal strike damage. So I don't think there's anything that could really block him and destroy him when this is on Rafiq.
No, because even though Rafiq does receive also double damage in combat, Rafiq has double strike, which means that the first strike damage goes first, and that's doubled. So there's very little creatures that are going to be able to stop that or even survive that hit.
Only a double strike creature with at least 2 power, or another first strike creature that blocks him with 2 power. That could destroy him, because Rafiq will still only have 4 toughness on the attack. Well, except of course when there are other exalted creatures, but mostly there will be.
Yeah.
So they will need to deal half of his toughness in first strike power damage.
Well, good luck finding that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Next card is Steel of the Godhead for 2 colorless and a either white or blue hybrid mana. It's also an enchantment it's great. We've used this card before. And it states that as long as enchanted creature is white, it gets +1/+1 and lifelink. As long as enchanted creature is blue, it gets +1/+1 and unblockable.
Yeah. Rafiq is of course blue and white, and also the Ethercast Knight and some other creatures like Guildspire Avenger. When Rafiq gets only this, it's unblockable and it's 6/6 on the attack, lifelink. So this is very big. It's even bigger than the Armadillo Cloak because it's, well, of course, unblockable is better than trample.
Yeah.
So, very nice card.
Very nice card, especially for Rafiq. Absolutely. Another card that's really great to put on Rafiq is Spectral Ward for 3 colorless and 2 white. So it's pretty expensive. You can enchant a creature where it gets +2/+2. That's a nice little pump. And has protection from all colors. But this effect does not remove auras. So you can always throw it on top of Rafiq, and there can already be more auras on top of Rafiq, and this won't remove the already placed auras.
Yeah, like Armadillo Cloak or Unflinching Courage.
For example.
Or Steel of the Godhead.
Correct.
Well, this gives protection from all colors, so it can be targeted by any spells with that color, and it can be blocked by creatures which have a color, so only artifact creatures can block him. So in most cases he's just unblockable, unremovable. So this is very annoying. It's game. When this is turn 5 or 6, when Rafiq's just there, it comes on Rafiq. Well, that's very big. Yeah,
exactly. You can't use any more of your sorceries or instants to boost them, unfortunately. You can still throw the artifacts on them.
Yeah.
The equipment. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, mostly okay, so it'll take you a little bit longer to kill people, but they can't get rid of Rafiq anymore, so it becomes a clock. Pretty big clock. Alright, well those are the pump spells. And however, as we discussed earlier, sometimes people want to remove Rafiq for some reason. I don't know why, but they want to target it with removal spells. So it would be nice if we had some utility cards that allow us to protect him, and some utility cards which allow us to search for the right mana, because after all, Rafiq is 3 colors, so not always just as easy to cast. So let's look at the utility cards. We divided the utility cards, as I just said, into protection cards and mana fixing cards. Let's have a look at the protection cards first. We start with Stave Off for 1 white mana. It's an instant that grants a target creature protection of the color of your choice till the end of turn.
Yeah, so when you have this in your hand and you put down Rafiq turn 5 with 1 additional land open, at least you can just protect him 1 time during one of your opponent's turns, because mostly they will try to remove him, especially the control decks. When it has protection from the color, it can be targeted by that color. It could also be used to make him unblockable by that color. So very nice.
Yeah, good uses right there. God's Willing is next, also for a white mana. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice, so the same as Stave Off, but on top of that also has Scry 1.
Yeah, simple. You just look at the top card of your library, 1, Scry 1. So, and then you can just put him on the bottom of your library or let him stay on top of that card.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit better than Stave Off.
Yeah, a nice plus.
But pretty much all we want is that we're using it because we want to give a creature protection from a color. Brave the Elements costs 1 white mana, also an instant. Choose a color, so pretty much the same as the other cards we just saw. White creatures you control gain protection from that color to the end of the turn. So it's a little bit better because all your white creatures are protected.
Mostly, most creatures we have are white, so all creatures will not be killed by damage or can be targeted by that color. So for example, a Blasphemous Act won't do anything against your white creatures.
Or is that the case? Because does Blasphemous Act target, or is it just...
It doesn't matter, it's red damage.
Oh yeah, because it's red damage, absolutely. So even though Blasphemous Act does not target, because otherwise it would be, we could protect from a color, but it's dealt damage. It's 13 points of damage, and creatures that are protected from red in this case would not be able to take those 13 points of damage.
Exactly.
Yeah, very nice. Apostle's Blessing for a colorless mana and a Phyrexian mana, white, gives a target creature protection from a color or from artifacts to the end of turn, and the Phyrexian mana means you can either pay a white mana or pay 2 life. So essentially you could pay Apostle's Blessing for 1 colorless mana.
Yeah, so it's also colorless, so if you don't have 1 white, this is also enough.
Yeah.
Well, paying 2 life, it's not that much of a problem.
No, especially not in Commander, yeah.
No. And well, an additional plus is that it can have protection from artifacts, so it can be blocked by artifacts. Could be.
Exactly. That's pretty nice. Shelter is also pretty nice for a colorless and a white. It gives us another instant that states target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice. It's a kind of a pattern forming over here. Mm-hmm. But because you're paying an extra mana, you get to draw an extra card.
Simple. The same, only you draw an extra card.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Sometimes what you could even do is, if push comes to shove, you're strapped for land, you could just cast it on one of your creatures. Attack, it becomes unblockable because they happen to have that color that you give that creature protection from. You get through and you get to draw a card. Or maybe that was your land that you were looking for your land drop.
Exactly.
Not too bad. The last one of the protection cards is an enchantment, Gift of Immortality for 2 colorless and a white. You can enchant a creature, let's say Rafiq. If enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. And at the beginning of the next end step, you could reattach Gift of Immortality to that creature.
So there is a window that it can be destroyed again during that same turn. It's very different than the other protection spells. This stays on. It only prevents him from dying. It can still be exiled or returned to your hand, or well, maybe on top of your library, something like that. And there's of course a window that they can remove him, but it will just stay on. So we really like this card. Yeah,
exactly. Very sweet. Then let's have a look at the mana fixing cards. First one, of course, a good staple, Cultivate for 2 colorless and a green. It allows us to search your library for 2 basic land cards, put one of them into the battlefield tapped, and put the other one into your hand and then shuffle your library.
Yeah, Very good. Some card advantage. You will have 2 lands. You can just search for the colors you need. Well, there's a little more green in this deck and a little more white, so mostly you will have the green. And well, I think in most cases you will search for a blue mana or a white mana for the protection spell.
Yeah, or both, because you can look for
both,
2.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Harrow is next for 2 colorless and a green. We have to sacrifice a land when we cast this, but we're allowed to put in search our library for 2 basic land cards and put them in untapped onto the battlefield.
Yeah. It's a little different than Cultivate, but still speed.
Yeah, and it allows us to search for, again, 2 basic land cards. Then we get to Kodama's Reach for 2 colorless and a green. Search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal those, put 1 into the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, shuffle your library.
Yeah, the same as Cultivate.
Same thing, yeah. Journey of Discovery is not the same, even though it does cost 2 colorless and a green. We're allowed to do one of 2 things. We can either search through our library for 2 basic land cards and put them into our hand, or we can play an additional 2 land cards this turn, but if we pay twice the cost, we can entwine it and then we can do both.
Yeah, mostly we won't do that because, well, we don't need more than 6 mana when we have 6 to entwine it.
Yeah.
But still, it could happen. It's not speed because they only go into your hand. It's only fixing, which is different. I think the other cards are a little bit better, but still
agreed.
Could come in very handy.
Could come in very handy, absolutely. The last one of our mana fixing cards is Nissa's Expedition for 4 colorless and a green. Search your library for 2 basic land cards, put them into the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. So this is speed mana, but it has another nice little thing, and that's to Convoke.
Yeah, if you have some creatures on the battlefield, you can pay mana with your creatures. So it can just pay 1 colorless for whichever creature you tap while casting this spell. Early on, you won't really need to do damage, so they don't really need to attack because you try to do lethal damage, commander damage with Rafiq.
Yeah.
So it's very nice. You might have seen that most of our cards have speed and are 3 mana. We preferred these cards because we like to have as fast as possible 5 mana, so we can cast Rafiq. With these cards, it's possible to have Rafiq on turn 4 with an additional white mana open to have a protection spell. So that's the reason why we use these 3 mana spells. And of course, Nissa's Expedition.
Yeah, absolutely. Alright, well those are the utility cards. Let's have a look at the lands. For the lands we have chosen 11 plains, 6 islands, 11 forests, and 11 non-basic lands. The reason why we did that is because we're quite heavy on the white creatures and white spells, so we need a lot of those. And we need, of course, a little bit more forest because a lot of our mana acceleration spells are green. So that means that we have a little bit less of the islands. Let's have a look at the non-basic lands though. We have Civic Guildgate, which allows us to, it comes in tapped, but it gives us either a green or a blue mana. And its counterpart, Thornwood Falls, which is exactly the same except when it comes in it also gives us a life.
Yeah, nice dual lands, of course, gaining 1 life, little extra.
Yeah, we have next Selesnya Guildgate and Blossoming Sands. Selesnya Guildgate and Blossoming Sands each give us, come in tapped, but give us either a green or a white mana, and the Blossoming Sands gives us a life when it comes in.
Yeah, the same. To complete the pattern, we also have an Azorius Guildgate and a Tranquil Cove, which do the same as the other lands, only this time it's white and blue mana.
Yeah, so it gives us all the colors that we need. Then we go to Vivid Meadow, Vivid Creek, and Vivid Grove. They all come in tapped. They give us 1 color of either white, blue, or green respectively. But they also come in with 2 counters.
Yeah, 2 times they can give a mana of any color. So when you have the white land, it can give blue or green 2 times. Yeah,
it's pretty sweet. You're not going to be using it more times than that.
2 is enough.
No. And then we top it all off with a Terramorphic Expanse and an Evolving Wilds, which come in and we can tap them to sacrifice them to look for a basic land type of our choice in our library. Put it onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle our library.
That's it?
Yeah, and this is actually short but sweet, gives us a very nice mana distribution for all 3 of the colors. And it doesn't have too many cards that come in tapped.
Yeah, because we have an aggro deck, which is 3 colors, so we need some non-basic lands to make it work, but we don't need too much because then we will sacrifice our aggro power.
Yeah. Alright, well those were the lands. Let's have a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, this deck is a lot of fun. If you like aggro decks, if you like to come in with a lot of speed and have a big fat creature coming in doing massive amounts of damage, obliterating your opponents, seeing people scrambling to block your commander with any little guys that they've got, this is the deck for you. Not only is it very simple to play, because you might think, okay, you just pop something on Rafiq, you attack, but it also gives you a lot of cool options that seasoned veterans can have a lot of fun with because of all the instant speed tricks at your disposal, not only offensive but also defensive. And lastly, I think it's also a lot of fun in the late game, because if you're not killing people left and right, you have a great offensive character, your Rafiq of the Many, attacking, and you also have great defensive cards shielding you from instant death by all the people who want to see you dead. So actually it gives you a lot of versatility, lots of different points in the game, and it gives you a lot of different tricks and options to play mind games with your opponents.
Yeah, this is a very fun deck, and it's also not that hard to play, so it's possible for a beginner to play this. It's well, of course, control decks are mostly harder to play than aggro decks, so it's very nice. Like David just said, it's possible to kill your opponent turn 5. This is possible, of course, when you just kill, or when you cast Rafiq turn 4 for 4 mana. It's better maybe if you cast him with 5 mana on turn 4, which is possible with your mana fixing spells.
Yeah.
Because you do want to protect him right away. If you do that, then turn 5 you will have 5 or 6 mana to pump him, and he will do 20, well, more than 20 commander damage. So it's possible. It doesn't happen a lot of times, but it could happen. And well, there's a lot of cases when Rafiq can deal lethal damage turn 6 or maybe turn 7. So it's very good.
Yeah, exactly. Not only is it a lot of fun to play, but it's also quite affordable.
Yeah, our deck is below $38, and we did this calculation on magiccards.info, which looks at a lot of sites and looks at all the prices of cards on those sites. So we took the medium prices, so it's really doable to get him for $38.
Yeah.
Which means it's just for everybody. You can just buy this deck, and it's a lot of fun to play. It's quite powerful, like we just talked about. It's quite fast. This price is also including all the lands and including the commander, which is $7.50, the most expensive card, of course, of the deck. So it's really nice to have a deck like this. You can just build these decks and try having a lot of fun games with your pals.
Yeah, exactly. And even if somebody decides to bring, oh, I don't know, say a life game deck, Rafiq comes in, laughs at that, does 21 lethal commander damage, and then you walk away from the table. So that's great fun.
Yeah, the last deck we talked about, Aloro, is a life game deck, of course. He has a lot of problems with this deck, because well, his life game just doesn't work. He really has to remove Rafiq, which is very hard because of the protection spells.
Exactly. Well, now I'm going to ask you to subscribe to this channel, and also to like this video, because that allows us to make more videos, and we like making more videos. And on top of that, it also allows us the chance to make videos for you guys. If you have any requests, then we can see if we can make a really nice budget commander deck, for example, for you. So please subscribe, and then we can get on with that. But Ruud, you still have a question of the day for us, right?
Yeah. The question of the day is, which alternative commander could be even faster in dealing 21 commander damage, which is in this deck as fast as turn 5. It could be, we could make it that it would be possible to deal those damage in turn 4, but we didn't do that because then we would sacrifice a lot of power to have that possibility, and it would be a very small possibility.
Exactly.
So which commander would be even faster at doing this? You can leave your comments below this video. So that's about it.
Yeah, well, thanks for watching. I'm David.
And I'm Ruud.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.